Okay, so for this next area here, this next part, what I'll be doing is working on this independently from the imagery that was underneath of it. And in order to do that, I just placed this over a regular piece of white paper to help me see a little bit better. You can see that I've added some blues in some of the dark areas, like under the neck here, these areas like this. But now I'm gonna go in, because everything is dry at this point, now I can go in and add some like line details. And so I'm gonna stir up my violet here with a smaller brush, and I'm just gonna add a little bit in the areas that should be darker. And so I'm feeling like there should be something there, maybe underneath, a little shadow, and I kind of intuit there. Add this around maybe this area here, around the ear, kind of help deepen that spot, make that a little bit darker. And then if I decided I wanted to radically change from what I have here, I certainly can do that. That's the beauty of this monotype process. So this is actually a one-of-a-kind print. You can't really replicate this. You can make similars, but it's not like a woodcut or the stencil prints where you can repeat them over and over. It's the kind of thing that you kind of one and done with this. And so it's a great marriage again of like painting and drawing, because you get to use all those color layering effects to create really unique painterly effects. But then in drawing, you're working on things like contour, you're working on shading, trying to get some areas to go darker, some areas to be lighter. So you're really trying to create an illusion of depth up in here too. Just put a little bit in here. I'm gonna kind of keep this a little bit impressionistic and washy. Add a little bit of blue in here too, just a touch. And maybe make her eye a little bit darker right here. Eye's pretty dark there. My brush is not really doing very well for this eyelash stuff. I feel like I need a smaller one. So that might be something I would add later as a detail after it's been printed, like with a pen or something. A little bit of pen and ink on there. So I'll drop just a little bit more darkness in that ear, make it look like it's receding into space more. And try to get some good hair textures to happen in here. It's important to know that there's going to be some distortion when we print this, and so it's hard to say, okay, it's going to turn out exactly like this, because there's all kinds of variables when you're dealing with watercolor and you're dealing with wet paper, which is what we'll be doing after this. It's got to be totally dry before we print it though. So I'm kind of interested to see what happens. I always like to go back in and kind of rework it a little bit. So it's a good beginning phase for like a painting. Add a little bit more red in here in the cheekbone area, a little darker. Kind of get in here a little bit, and leave some brush strokes. You notice I wiped out a little bit here, like it was pretty yellow before. I just wanted that to look more like a highlight. So if you do have a place that's white, what you really want to think about with those areas is leaving it white so that the paper is white rather than adding white watercolor. It does exist, but it just doesn't work very well. It's difficult to control. And it just kind of like makes stuff muddy, so it's better to leave out the white of the paper. Okay, so now I'm going to let this dry completely. I'm totally happy with it. And once I'm ready to print, that's going to be the final part of my demonstration. So I hope you can have fun with this method. You know, if you choose the other method, that's fine as well. However, know that I'm trying to give you guys extra in terms of some more difficult methods, because I have done this with younger students before, using watercolor crayons, watercolor pencils, so that they can kind of control stuff. And I've shown them how to do washes, do simple symbols, and they seem to like it quite well. Works best with a press, but we're going to print it without a press.